Yamuna Ravana Chagode Jaya Radhu Madhava Kundabi Hagunte Jaya Radha Madhuva Kundabi Hari Gopi Janava Kirivarud Hagate Gopi Jana Balaba Kirivarud Hagate Yasudananana Rajajantaranjana Yasudananana Rajajantaranjana Jamuna Tira Manachagate Yamuna Tera Manachagate Jai Huradam Padava Kunda Bhagati Jayurad Madhova Kunda Bhagati Madhova Kunjabi Hari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya also Tada Sutta Shimad His Divine Grace Savaya Charanata Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Iskcon Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Huilas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopika Sayam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuradam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Srimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, so I guess today we're reading from the 6th canto, 14th chapter, text 2, right? Is that right? At least that's what it says there. 2. 1, 2. Okay, we'll take a vote. 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Devanam Shuddha Sattvanam Rishinam Jamalatmanam Bhaktir Mukunda Charane Na Prayeno Pajayate Devanam Shuddha Sattvanam Rishinam Chamalatmanam Bhaktir Mukunda Charane Na Prayeno Pajayate Devanam Shuddha Sattvanam Rishinam Chamalatmanam Bhaktir Mukunda Charane Na Prayeno Pajayate Devanam Shuddha Sattvanam Rishinam Chamalatmanam Bhaktir Mukunda Charane Na Prayeno Pajayate. Okay. Ladies. Latmanam. Okay. Devanam of the demigods. Shuddhasattvanam, whose minds are purified. Rishinam, of great saintly persons. Cha, and Amala Atmanam, who have purified their existence. Bhaktihi, devotional service. Mukunda Charante, to the lotus feet of Mukunda, the Lord who can give liberation. Na, not Prayena, almost always. Upajayate, develops. So translation, demigods situated in the mode of goodness and great saints cleansed of the dirt of material enjoyment hardly ever render pure devotional service at the lotus feet of Mukunda. That is, therefore, how could Vritrasura have become such a great devotee? So there's no purport to this text, so I'm just going to read it. There's the next text, has no purport, and text 4 does have a purport. So we'll go on to where there's a purport by His Divine Grace Prabhupada. So, text 3, Rajavi Sama Sankyata Partivairika Jantavaha Tesham Ye Ketchenhe Honte Shiovai Manujadayaha. In this material world, there are as many living entities as atoms. Among these living entities, very few are human beings, and among them, few are interested in following the religious principles. And finally, text 4. Prayomimukshavaste Kechan Haiva Dvijotama Mumukshunam Sahasresu Kastyan Mucheta Siddhyate. O best of the Brahmanas, Shukadeva Goswami, out of many persons who follow religious principles, only a few desire liberation from the material world. Among many thousands who desire liberation, one may actually achieve liberation, giving up material attachment to society, friendship, love, country, home, wife, and children. And among many thousands of such liberated persons, one who can understand the true meaning of liberation is very rare. Wow. So, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There are 4 classes of men, namely Karmis, Jnanis, Yogis, and Bhaktas. This statement pertains especially to Karmis and Jnanis. A Karmi tries to be happy within this material world by changing from one body to another. His objective is bodily comfort, either in this planet or in another. When such a person becomes a Jnani, however, he aspires for liberation from material bondage. Among many such persons who aspire for liberation, one may actually be liberated during his life. Such a person gives up his attachment for society, friendship, love, country, family, wife, and children. Among many such persons who are in the Vanaprastha stage, one may understand the value of becoming a sannyasi, completely accepting the renounced order of life. So, Om Gana Timidandasha Gananjana Shlakya Chaksur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So these verses actually remind me of a verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Anybody know that verse? Actually, 2 verses. Kaschit Siddhaya. Anyone else besides Maharaj? Give us the translation to that verse. No? Nobody else has read Bhagavad Gita here. That's a book written or translated by Prabhupada, in case you don't know. Anyway, I guess you're all so advanced, you're just reading the Gopi Lilamrita or something like that. Anyway, out of many men, Manushanam Sahasreshu, Kaschit Yatati Siddhayat. Out of many endeavoring for perfection, perhaps one is perfecting that. Of those, perhaps one knows Krishna in truth. So here, there's another verse too. What's another verse that's related to this? What? Yeah, that's another verse. After many births and deaths, one comes to the understanding that Krishna is everything. Such a great soul is very rare. So, anyway, this is basically the question being raised here. How is it this particular demon, Vritrasura, became a devotee? Of course, we understand a great devotee, pure devotee of the Lord. We understand that previously he was Chitraketu, and I think you've all been hearing about this story before, so we won't talk about Chitraketu. But we're going to talk basically how one can become a great devotee of the Lord and how it's not important which family one is born in, whether one is a demigod or a demon or in a Malecha family. Of course, we have that verse, Aho bata swa pachato gariyan, yadupagre vartate namatubhyam, tapus Jehovah shashnarya brahmanuchar nama granante yete. And anyone know the trance besides Baraj? These are Vedas personified. We have some of my godbrothers and godsisters are actually so expert in the Vedas, I don't even need a Veda base anymore. I just talk to them. I was just talking to one of my godsisters the other day, Narayani, and I was asking her about certain topics regarding the time factor, where the verses can be found. And she just rattled off 234, 313. I said, oh my God, I don't need a computer anymore. I just need to email you. So, anyway, so Aho bata swa pachato gariyan. Anyone else know the verse? No, besides Maharaj. Yeah, so what is the translation?
Oh, how glorious
It is. One who's chanting the holy name. Yeah.
one must have performed many yagyas.
Yeah, he's undergone all the austerities, yeah. And he's come to the platform of being a what? Well, Brahmanucha Nama Granantiye Te. He's come to the platform of being a Brahmin. So in this particular context, it's interesting, the word Brahmin can be used in different contexts to indicate different things, but the direct literal meaning of the word Brahmin is one who knows Brahman. At least one of the three aspects of Brahman. This is a test. What are the three aspects of Brahman? Paramatma iti, Bhagavan iti shabdyate, Vedanti tat tattva vidas, tattvam dhyad jnanam advayam, Brahmeti Paramatma iti, Bhagavan iti shabdyate. That is the what Prabhupada calls, what the Vedas call the impersonal Brahman. It's actually how we perceive it, because the impersonal Brahman is made of different little jiva souls floating around. And then Paramatma, the super soul in everyone's heart and every atom. And Bhagavan, that's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are the three aspects. So one who knows Brahman is called a Brahmin. So one who takes up the chanting of the Lord's holy names, then automatically he comes to the platform of Brahman. However, there's a caveat in this. There's different ways that one can chant the holy name. There's namabhas. Namabhas means you're chanting either accidentally, meaning something else, jokingly, derisively. You're separating some syllables like that. Like Prabhupada gives the example, one example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually gives the example of Namabhas is when a Muslim was getting attacked by a boar. That means big pig. And Muslim was chanting what? Anyone know? Haram, Haram, Haram. And then that was Namabhas chanting. And Namabhas gives you what? Liberation. And it even destroys something called prarabdha karma, which means what you're suffering from at present. So you may ask, why am I still getting karmic reactions? Well, actually, that's token reactions. Token reactions means, there's different ways that Prabhupada explained that. is that the fan is slowing down. You've unplugged the fan, and there's some momentum in the fan. Another way that I sometimes explain is that Krishna is directly administering these token reactions for a devotee. So that's namabhas chanting. And of course, we also understand there's aparad, that means offensive chanting. So in order for one to come to the platform of understanding Brahman, at least the Supreme Personality of Brahman, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagawan, then the chanting has to be more than namabhas chanting. In other words, one should be ready to hear from, as Prabhupada said, the lips of a pure devotee, because the holy names, that is the Shuddhanama, is not simply the movement of the lips and the tongue. The Shuddhanama descends, Golokera, Premadana, Harinama, Sankirtana. The Shuddhanama descends through the lips of a pure devotee, such as His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So, in order for one to actually have his consciousness completely transformed, you have to take association with a Shuddha Bhakta. Because, as explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that the Bhakti Lata Bij, or Bhakti, is not given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but rather it is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead's devotee, or Bhakti is independent, he states. And therefore we have this verse, Brahmanda Brahmate, Konna Bhagwan Jiv Guru Krishna Prasadi Vai Bhakti Lata Bij. What does that verse mean? It means that the living entity is wandering throughout the universe, or universes, and by the mercy of Krishna, he comes in touch with a devotee and gets the Bhakti Lata Bij. So the Bhakti Lata Bija means the seed of the creeper of devotion. And so that's how one becomes Krishna conscious. So by that association, even a demon, malecha, just like most, or at least I don't want to criticize any of you, but at least, my background was definitely not Krishna conscious before I joined the movement. And of course, I'm not saying I'm Krishna conscious now either. That would be a big mistake. But in any case, by the mercy, or by the coming in contact with a pure devotee, even someone on the lowest platform can come to the platform of pure devotional service. And there's many examples of that too. Not just here we have Vritrasura, but throughout the Vedic literatures, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have people who are very low in society, or even low in birth, who can come to the platform of pure devotional service. You're all familiar with the story of Magrari. Everyone knows the story of Magrari? No. Yes, no. Magrari, of course, just tell the story in a very short way, was a hunter. And not only was he a hunter, what is lower than a hunter? But he was killing, or half killing, the animals just to enjoy their suffering. And so along comes Narada Muni. And what does Narada Muni say? Actually, after he frees the animals, he says, "Why are you half killing the animals?" And Magrari says, "Well, this is what I was taught by my dad, by my father." And Narada Muni says, "Why don't you just kill them completely?" And basically, Magrari says, "This was not really what I was taught." And he's enjoying it in such a way. And then Narada Muni, first of all, convinces him that he's going to suffer. First of all, how does he do that? He shows him a virtual reality experience. In the old days, they didn't need a technology or electronics to show people virtual reality experiences. Narada Muni, is, with his devotional mystic power, enables Mugrari to see what's going to happen in the future. And what does he see? He sees the same animals that he was killing coming to kill him or eat him or anyway harass him. And then he has a wake-up call. And then he's ready to take instruction from Narada Muni. So sometimes people need a wake-up call. And Narada Muni implants the Bhakti Lata Bija in Mugrari's heart. And Mugrari becomes a absolutely pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dinahina Yata Chilo, Harinam Udurilo. Whether one is fallen, whether one is elevated, if one chants the Harinam under the direction of a pure devotee. That's why a pure devotee is essential. And also there's other reasons too. Why Guru is essential. Giving guidance to the disciple according to his psychophysical nature, etc. So then Mugrari becomes a great devotee, and he sits down on the banks of the river along with his wife in front of a tulsi plant and chants the holy names and is in ecstasy. So there's someone from low to high. I think the best example I can give of someone who goes from absolutely low to absolutely high, or very high, is the story in the Ramayana of this dacoit, Ratnagara. Actually, there's different names according to which version of the Ramayana. But in the Valmiki Ramayana that I've read, they call him Ratnagara. He was a dacoit. Dacoit, for those of you who don't know what that means, it means a thief, murderer, probably rapist and everything like that. And so this dacoit was stealing from people along the path, and along comes the Sapta Rishis, 7 great sages. This, at least in the Valmiki Ramayana, the original one, it talks about the Sapta Rishis are the ones he approached. So along they come, and he says, "Give me your money." Of course, probably the Sapta Rishis don't have too much money or credit cards with them, or mobile phones or anything like that. So they say, first they start to preach to him, and they say, yeah, but he needs a wake-up call first. This is important. When we're preaching to people, sometimes they need a wake-up call to come to the realization that this material world's a place of suffering, or they're going to have heavy karma. We all need wake-up calls like this. So, anyway, so he says to them, they say to him, the Saptarishis say to him, "We'd be happy to give you our money, but first we want you to understand that you have some really heavy karma to suffer from, because you're attacking all these people." And he says, "I understand, but I have my wife and my children, and I have to take care of them. This is my job. And I love them." This is a real wake-up call, discovering what material love is. Anyway, so he says, "I love them, and they love me." So the Saptarishis say, "Okay, so if they love you, then go to them and ask them if they're willing to take some of that karma." Okay, so he goes to his wife, and he says, "Priya," that's how they call wives in the Vedic culture, which basically means dear. He says, "Priya, please, would you take some of the karma I have to suffer from?" Because he was basically a Vedic thief. Even Vedic thieves understood the Vedic literatures. So she says, basically she says, HELL, no. Your business as a husband, as a Vedic husband, is to bring home the dough, or to give me nice saris or jewelry or whatever she has. And he gets very disappointed, but he thinks, actually, my children love me. So then he goes to his daughter and son and putting it in a more modern context, his son says, Dad, you're supposed to buy me iPhones or something like that. Anyway, he gets the same response from his children. And then he realizes, oh my God, they didn't love me. Actually, to love someone means to see the soul, not the body. If you're just attached to the body, you can't be in love with the body. But if you're just attached to the body, that's not love. Not love at all. I mean, just like there's this story, I mean, just a little side story. This story called Metamorphosis. It was by Kafka. You heard that story? That this young boy, he turned into a cockroach one day, a big cockroach, and his family rejected him. Whew. It's terrible. Anyway, I'm not going to tell the whole story. So anyway, so Valmiki goes back to the Saptarishis and he says, what should I do? And they say, you have to chant the name of Ram. And he says, I'm too sinful to chant the name of Ram. And they give him this other mantra, Mara, Mara, death, death, which is just really resonates with him because he's already a murderer. And he starts chanting it, and it's under the direction of the Saptarishis. And he starts chanting it, and it turns to Ram, and an anthill grows around him. That's why he's called Valmiki. That means the anthill sage. So later on, when the Saptarishis come back, they hear this anthill chanting Ram, 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 Ram. And they understand, and they sprinkle some, whatever, holy water or something, and then he comes out of the anthill. And he's a pure devotee at that point. Not only a pure devotee, but he becomes so pure that he's able to visualize in his what Prabhupada called spiritual television the pastimes of Lord Ram and dictate or sing them to Lav and Kush, the sons of Lord Ram. And then he's able to host Sita Devi in his ashram. He becomes such a great sage, Valmiki Muni. I mean, there's many stories about this. Can you imagine that? From the lowest to the highest. I mean, I can go one story after another after another. Prabhupada called it hippies to happies. And sometimes this particular understanding of the potency of the holy name and the transformation that one can have really drives ritualistic Brahmins crazy in India. I mean, there's that whole story where the devotees, they were at some temple in Vrindavan, I think it was the Radharaman temple, and one of the Goswamis, and we're not talking about sannyasi Goswamis, but Goswami families, said that if you do your bhakti nicely, then in your next life you can take birth as in a Brahmin family and get to serve the deities. And the devotees went to see Prabhupada and told Prabhupada what this person had said. And Prabhupada said, you can go back and tell him that if he does his service nicely, he can take birth in the Hare Krishna movement in the West. You heard this story before? So the point is the potency of the holy name given by the pure devotee. In other words, we should avoid hearing the holy name, on the negative side, from someone who is not a Vaishnava or not in disciplic succession. A Vaishnava Mukod Girnam Putam Harikatam Ratam Shravananayava Kartavyam Sarpochistiyatapayam. If one hears about Krishna, the holy names, from someone who is, let's say, a demon, then it's like taking milk touched by the lips of the serpent. No matter how well that person who is not Krishna conscious chants. Many times we go into devotees' homes and they have, of course, not CDs anymore. Nobody uses CDs. They have MP3s of some famous kirtan or kirtanier. And I know that particular individual eats meat. But people are so sentimental about these things. I mean, I'll even give an example. One time, in one of the temples that I'm supervising, it's in New Orleans, we arranged a benefit concert with a famous kirtan person from India. All right. And so he did this benefit concert, all the devotees and everybody was just going, oh, it's so ecstatic, it's so ecstatic. And then afterwards, he and his band demanded meat and liquor at the hotel. Famous. I mean, not a Western person. It was a famous kirtan leader a bhajan singer from India. And everybody was so ecstatic. So what is that ecstasy that they're experiencing? You know, it's simply a combination of the modes of material nature. That's it. That's it. I mean, unless someone is such a pure devotee that everything becomes a vibhava for him, you know, a stimulant to Krishna consciousness. You know, every time you see a peacock running around, you faint in ecstasy. I mean, most of us are not on that platform. So basically, we should understand that we are subject to the frailties of the conditioned soul, of conditioned souls. I mean, unfortunately, we're not humble enough to admit it. At least I'm not humble enough to admit it. In other words, we make mistakes, we're illusioned, we can cheat others, and imperfect senses. So many frailties we have. So we should use our intelligence, be humble enough to discriminate what we hear, who we hear it from, and not simply rely on the feedback from our emotions. Because the emotions we experience now, I mean, they're a mixture, but anyway, for the most part, until we become, you know, really purified, we're also experiencing bhava rog, you know, sick emotions. For example, if I see something in this world that I'm attracted to, I experience an emotion. Like I'm attracted to certain types of cars, for example. If I see a Tesla, you know what a Tesla is? Then I feel ecstasy. Wow, a Tesla. Just like one of my friends has a Tesla, you know, the top of the line Tesla. And he said, he brought it to the temple. Not for blessing, but because he understands that when he asked me to bless a car, I said, well, you have to give it to Krishna. So he brought it to the temple and he said, I have a Tesla. I said, really? Wow, can I see it? So there was an emotion above. And I ran up, and it was the type with the gull wing doors. You know what that is? The doors that come up instead of go out. I go, wow. So we confuse material feelings with spiritual feelings. Wow, and I even said, wow, that's really ecstatic. Like devotees say, well, that's ecstatic. That word is used, I think, a little too much. That's ecstatic kirtan, ecstatic prasadam, ecstatic dhoti you have, you know. So we have to be careful, utilize our intelligence. Buddhi yoga, that's what Krishna consciousness is, to discriminate. And discriminate based upon our goal in life. That's like I understand Maharaj has been talking about having a purpose-driven temple, right? So we should have a purpose-driven life, too. When you have a purpose, that's Ekeha Kuranandana. You know, one-pointed. And when you don't have a purpose, you can't define your purpose, then you can get bewildered by all these different feelings, emotions, realizations, you know, everything that comes out like that. So it's important to define purposes. I was thinking we were talking about this yesterday when I heard that you were discussing purpose-driven churches or purpose-driven temples, that I was thinking if I would ask the devotees, I'm not going to do that here and embarrass anyone, but if I would ask a devotee, you know, what's the purpose of Iskcon? I think in many cases I just draw a blank stare, or they would say, well, to be Krishna conscious. or to teach us how to be Krishna conscious. And then I was reflecting that every successful business, they have this mission statement. Everybody's tuned into the purpose. And here we are, we're not tuned. Or what is the purpose of your life? I ask any of you, what's the purpose of our life? Well, chant Hare Krishna, eat a lot of prasadam until I die. So I think it's important in order to be able to use our intelligence to discriminate. Like, first of all, we were mentioning who to hear from, who to hear or when to hear or how to hear the holy names or how to control the mind, etc. It's important to have that direction, purpose, vyavasayatmika buddhya rekha kurunandana. As Bhagavad Gita says, intelligence is one, ekehar kurunandana. And usually we are what Bahashaktas Tvanantascha is many branched. Or as we say in common English, spaced out. That's a literal translation. Because we are Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanantaya Prachachetasam. Vyavasayat Ekabudir. Samadho Navatiyate. So anyway, that's the message I wanted to give, that we should think about our purposes and pull our senses in, like the tortoise, that's another example given in Bhagavad Gita, or extend them depending upon whether a particular circumstance fits our particular purpose or goal or mission in life and mission for the movement. That's the tortoise example in the Gita. You pull your senses in, you let them out. Or, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, to accept everything favorable, the surrendering principles, and reject everything unfavorable for devotional service. Of course, there's 4 more, which are not applicable for this particular discussion. So in that way, we can actually become Krishna conscious very quickly, in a second, if we're one-pointed like this. Choosing our association, who we hear from, and understanding our purpose and controlling our senses because of that purpose. That's how you control your senses. You don't control your senses, just like it's mentioned here, like someone who is, let's say, transcendental, gives up attachment to society, friendship, love, country, home, wife, and children. So you don't give up attachment to those things just by deciding to give up attachment. I guess that would be the Buddhist thing. Material world is suffering. Suffering is caused by attachment. Give up the attachment, gives up the suffering, and then whatever. Then that's the Eightfold Path after that. But you give up attachment to these things by being one-pointed in determination. And then you see all those things as to be utilized in Krishna's service. That's Yukta Vairagya. Society, friendship, love, country, home, wife, and children. That's how you give up the attachment. By seeing them as they belong to Krishna. We were talking about this last night, isn't it? Ishavasham idam sarvam yakacha jagajam jagat. Tena chena bunjita magurha kashasvidanam. Everything is owned and controlled by Krishna. And Krishna is giving us a quota, but it still belongs to him. Everything belongs to Krishna. Okay, so I think I'll end here. Any questions, comments, arguments, problems, issues, complaints, suggestions? Maharaj, you have anything? Everybody's quiet. Yeah.
Thank you. Before you were mentioning Valmiki and Mrigari.
Yeah.
They were both, when they were explaining why they were doing things that they were doing, they were both referring to some historic ways of
they were taught to do it by their father, right?
Yeah, so what's theirs in that wrong desire to do that activity, and what comes, if you could more precisely specify what's their responsibility for the wrong desire here, and in general,
for the wrong action.
And where is the line,
Where is the line? Well, one could be taught the wrong things.
between circumstances and us accepting those as our desire or something? What is
One
it
could be
behind-
taught the wrong things, but we have free will. We can decide. I mean, I was certainly taught the wrong things when I was young by my parents, bless their hearts. Anyway, I was taught some good things too. Please say please and thank you. There's some good things. But I was taught the wrong things as far as diet, and I guess everything else was all right. Diet and God. Those are the two main things that God was just an invention to get people to behave. That's one lesson I had. And you can eat any damn thing as long as it doesn't get you sick. So, but we came to the realization, even before we came to Krishna consciousness, that animals were alive. Strange realization. And basically it was cruel to eat them. I mean, we have the choice. People do have that choice. Of course, if one does something after they've been informed, there's actually a heavier reaction. After they've been given knowledge, in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, you find specific punishments that are basically for Brahmins. Isn't it? Like if a Brahmin drinks liquor, for example, guess what? Does anyone know the punishment? Besides Maharaj. What, more liquor? Lead. Molten lead. Ah. You know, so that's a punishment. It's mentioned specifically for a Brahmin. So if you want to drink, don't take second initiation. Not even first. Anyway, so more knowledge means more responsibility. That is a fact. However, there is a reaction. Like Prabhupada said, whether or not you're aware of the law, you're responsible for following the law. It behooves you to follow the law. I mean, if you go into a particular country, if you're going to start driving a car, for example, like I go to different countries where they drive on different sides of the street, like Australia. India, too. Actually, I've driven in India, too. But India, it doesn't matter. You can drive on either side of the street. Isn't it? I mean, you don't have to learn about red lights, nothing. All you got to learn about is when the police stop you, give them some money. That's so. So it behooves me. I'll study the driver's manual, even though I know how to drive in America. I will understand what the local law is. Can you make a right turn, or there would be? Can you make a left turn on a red light like you can in America? I'll learn about that. So it's my responsibility. After I reach a certain age, after I reach a certain ability to discriminate, obviously, a 5-year-old kid or a 6-year-old kid is not responsible for whatever he does. That's why that sage, Mandavya Muni, was angry at Yamaraj. You know that story? That he had punished this sage when he got older because when he was young, he pierced an insect with a piece of grass. And so later on, the king pierced this sage with a lance, and that was the punishment from Yamaraj. And of course, they tried to break off the lance, and the lance had that part of it stayed in his body. And so he went to Yamaraj and said, "What did you do? Why did you punish me for something?" And Yamaraj explains, "When you were a kid, you did this," and then he cursed Yamaraj. So therefore, when you're below a certain age, you're excused. However, when you have the power, or, if you have some mental problem and, you have no brains or something like that, some people, they have some serious brain problem, then, how can you hold them responsible? But if someone is able to discriminate, they're responsible to a certain extent. because of, common sense. I mean, if you understand that meat comes from animals, and you really understand it, you completely, and you still do it, you're responsible. There's laws of God. I was listening to a class the other day. Prabhupada was talking about how people try to make a morality or ethics relative, like they do nowadays. You have something called political correctness. And morality is definitely, or what's commonly accepted as being moral or acceptable, has changed since when I was young. I mean, let's take this abortion thing, for example. When I was young, I mean, nobody, but basically in America, nobody that I knew ever thought about that abortion was okay. But nowadays, if you go out in the street and you're an anti-abortionist or something like that, or even, I'm talking about America at least, I don't know about this country, or if you even suggest that someone who wants to get an abortion should be shown a film of what an abortion is, you may get attacked. So morality, or what is accepted as morality, changes in society according to what's called political correctness. But Prabhupada said, and we know, that there's laws, and God has written laws. What's right and what's wrong. You have law books. Of course, law book for devotional services, Nectar Devotion, but you have the Manusangita and other law books like that. So it behooves someone who's intelligent and knows how to read, investigate what is right and what is wrong. What's cruel? So someone is responsible. Does that make sense? If you go to a country, you find out what the law is. For example, I'm going to Serbia. I think some of us are going to Serbia. And the law there is you have to register within 24 hours. You know that. With the local police. So I follow the law. I find out what the law is. I Google the country and I say, what is the law in a particular country? Okay. So that's intelligence. Someone who doesn't ask what is right and what's wrong, they're on a lower level of, I wouldn't even say humanity. They're not even ethical atheists. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about, ethical atheists and non-ethical atheists. He gives this whole hierarchy. So, any other questions? Comments? Problems? Have a purpose. If I can leave everybody with something for today's class, is have a purpose in life and a purpose of the temple. And I believe, see, you're happy with me now. So, and work with Prahlad Maharaj and help us understand what our purpose is. We can accomplish tremendous things if we're all focused on the same purpose. We can take over Slovenia. Really. You can. You'll see, even sometimes, demons are focused on a purpose. And they accomplish amazing things in a short time because they have a focus in life. But most of us, it's just we're just floating in the ether. Prabhupada had a purpose. What do you think one of the main purposes of Prabhupada was? What?
Become a humble servant of his spiritual master.
Exactly. That was the one I was looking for. I said, boy, you have such a good brain. To please his spiritual master. And everything came about because of that. Yasya prasada, bhagavat prasada. If you look at Prabhupada's qualities, the one to me that stands out the most, the very most, is that he accepted more than any of his godbrothers the order of his spiritual master as his life and soul. Isn't it? I mean, that's the one. I mean, there's so many exemplary qualities, but that's the one quality that differentiates Prabhupada in a very clear way from all of his godbrothers. Like many of his godbrothers who spoke English got the instruction to go to the Western world or speak or preach in English. Many of them got that instruction. But Prabhupada did it without any material facility. He was just completely focused. Ours is not to wonder why, ours is but to do or die. Anyway. So that was, I mean, as far as I can understand, that was Prabhupada's purpose, to please his spiritual master. And because of that, he was empowered. So he was definitely purpose-driven, isn't it? So, Marge asked me to speak. No, he didn't. I'm just inspired. Because we were talking about this last night. Having a purpose. An individual purpose, too. Okay, I think we have to end, because the purpose is for all of you to take prasadam. All glories to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada, ki jai. Gauranga. Jai. Ananta Goswami ki jai. You're all right. Wow, it's good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Good.
I'm working rather than doing that.
What's that?
I'm working rather than doing the usual.
Good. You help in the temple a lot too? Or?
On Sunday I dress.
All right. Good to see you. Here's a garland for you. Oh, it's really hot. All right. Just one little drop.